Pokemon games are hard to judge. You know what I've realized recently during this Halloween? The closest thing Pokemon games are similar to is trash 80s slasher horror movie franchises like Friday the 13th or Halloween. When you judge a slasher franchise movie, do you really care about the filmmaking quality like cinematography, directing, or the actor's ability to act?
Trick or treat, mother.
No, you care more about whether the kill and gore effects are good.
Hey, Ted, where the hell's Corkscrew?
Or whether there's enough teens having premarital intercourse and showing their knockers on screen.
They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
I mean, sure, there are some slash movies that's genuinely good and artsy, but that's few in between. These movies are sleaze trash, and no matter how stupid these movies get,
Oh, this sucks on so many levels!
as long as there's enough good kills, people love them. When it comes to Pokemon games, it's the same thing. Fans care less about graphics or gameplay when playing a Pokemon game. They care more about whether the game is easy to farm shiny Pokemon, whether their favorite Pokemon is in it or not. Just like how slasher fans have a different standard for a good movie, you don't really judge the game based off of the standard of other video games. Pokemon fans have different standards for a good Pokemon game, and this one is no different at all. In a strange way, just like horror movies, it's comfort food. Might not be the best quality, but it's comfort food. That being said, I am a Pokemon fan myself. A Pokemon fan that has been severely disappointed by the franchise's recent outputs during the Nintendo Switch 1 era because they failed to meet the standards of comfort food. So, how do I feel about the latest Switch Pokemon game?
I like it! Hell, I love it! I'm sitting here, I'm just itching. I'm itching to do it again.
Okay, maybe loved it is too strong of a phrase. After all, the game still has a lot of massive flaws and Game Freak cannot get away with these kind of graphics in 2025. The game is still developed by either very incompetent or lazy developers like all modern Pokemon games. If you compare this to other actual video games, the quality is very bad as usual. However, after playing the game for a while, I have to admit it. This is the best Pokemon game since Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It remains the only Switch Pokemon game that I streamed, which I played off camera out of pure enjoyment.
What?
It's the only Switch Pokemon game where I am playing after I finish streaming.
This is impossible!
And I think I'll try to 100% complete the Pokédex and do all the side quests.
Traitor!
Yeah, I know. The biggest hater of Pokemon actually ended up liking the game that's being made fun of all over social media. We have come a long way since the days of BDSP chibi controversy days, am I right? Well, you guys probably wanted my honest opinion of the game, my unbiased take, so let me explain. After all, being honest and giving a game a fair review without getting on a bandwagon, maybe that's the real punk rock. Anyways, I'm going to be getting into minor spoilers in this review, so if you just want a quick rundown of the game because you don't want to be spoiled, or you just hate my guts now because I like the game, here is the TLDR. The graphics are unacceptably bad, there are some questionable game design choices, but the gameplay is addicting as hell, and it's much more enjoyable than previous Switch Pokemon entries. This game is also a proper sequel to Pokémon X and Y, so if you were ever underwhelmed by the Generation 6 games but saw the potential of Kalos and wanted more, this game freaking delivered. This is a straight up review of Pokémon Legends ZA released on the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 in 2025. Part 1. My Expectations. When the game was first revealed in Pokémon Presents, I didn't know what to expect. After all, during Generation 8, we lived through the travesty that was Pokemon BDSP and Legends Arceus. So for Generation 9, I naturally thought the next logical step will be an Unova Legends game paired with a faithful crap make of Pokemon Black and White. However, Pokemon subverted my expectations. They decided to suddenly skip Unova and go straight for a Kalos Legends game. Despite that, I still didn't really have hype or expectations. After all, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 151 times, shame on Game Freak. If you don't remember, I was one of the few people that thought Legends Arceus was meh at best. I still don't understand why people liked that game when it came out. It didn't feel like a complete game. A wannabe game that wanted to be a Breath of the Wild clone so bad. It felt like a beta test for a real-time catching mechanic Pokemon game that sacrificed all other aspects of Pokemon, with big empty open fields, boring ass story, lazy animations and graphics, forgettable characters, and just overall mediocre. Besides the actual quality of the game, my attitude on the game was very sour because Pokemon BDSP had just come out 3 months before. We sacrificed a proper in-house remake like ORAS for this middling quality game? Still, when they announced this would be a Kalos game set in one giant city, I had some hope in the back of my mind. After all, setting the game into one city will get rid of the empty open field problem if Game Freak could invest and focus more by making a smaller but detailed environment. Also, Kalos really got the short end of the stick in the past. Until Legends ZA released, it remained the only region that got only one game exploring it, with no third game, sequel, or DLC expanding the region's lore or story. The loss of a Pokemon X and Y sequel or Pokémon Z in 2015 was one of the most frustrating events in Pokemon franchise's history. Rectifying this mistake by finally making another Kalos game felt like the right decision. Also, when I saw a grown-up Emma on the box art, confirming that this is a direct sequel to Pokemon X and Y, that actually raised my interest slightly. After all, Pokemon has historically been excellent with direct sequels. Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 are sequels, and revisiting the Kanto and Unova region again after a time skip is one of the best aspects of the game. So, a revisit to Kalos? That sounded interesting. Still, I didn't know what to expect because this was such a new direction and weird thing for Game Freak to do. So, with all the baggage behind us, how is the actual game that is Pokemon Legends ZA? Part 2. The Graphics Discourse. I'm not gonna dwell on the building designs too much. Do you really need me to explain to you that the city buildings 3D models in this game are garbage? Do you really need me to tell you that water is wet? Anyone with eyes could tell you this is hideous and not acceptable for a $70 video game released in 2025. It's a shame that they chose to make a game based off of Paris, because real-life Paris buildings have complicated European designs, so they would have had to model everything if they wanted the game to look good. I mean, if the Kalos region was based off of a post-Soviet country city, commie block buildings would have been everywhere, so the squarish buildings wouldn't have been bothering, right? Still, it's lame. Most of the discourse about the game is about these squarish building blocks. Half of the discussion of the game online is about PNG windows, and the other half of the discussion about Emma's buttocks. I swear, if the game had balconies, windows, columns, or whatever, there would have been so much less discourse around the game. It's frustrating that the discourse around buildings is clouding all the discussion, because the classic Game Freakism is still present in this game as well. The classic black screen animation where the devs are too lazy rushing or cutting corners to animate complicated animations is ever prevalent in this game. While there have been advancements for sure, the character animations in the overworld are still awkward and unnatural. We really cannot have Pokemon or NPCs climbing up buildings. That scene where Zygarde kicks you onto the roof is embarrassing, oh my lord. As for performance, I've played this game on the Switch too, so the frame rate is a smooth buttery 60 FPS, but the character pop-ins are still noticeable the moment you get off the train in Lumiose City Station. Since I'm not Digital Foundry, I don't have the gear to calculate resolution, but I noticed many times the game's resolution being dropped whenever something complicated happened on screen as well. It's ironic because the actual character models in game are pretty good looking now in battles, such as during starter battles or when they pull out a Mega Pokemon. They're animated pretty well. As always, Game Freak's art team cooked with these character designs. Maybe they cooked really well. Oh my god. This game's a 10 out of 10, guys.
Can't be that easy. It's that easy.
It's just that the rest of the game looks embarrassingly bad. There's that funny joke that Emma's buttocks has more polygons than the city of Lumiose, and it might be true. I believe this was confirmed during the recent Terra leaks, but there has been a lot of good evidence that buildings are boxy because they couldn't optimize the game's performance in the city with the current engine. It's really ironic that the game runs like this because they're still stuck using the same game engine since Pokémon X and Y, a game released for the 3DS 12 years ago. We're still stuck with this outdated 3D graphics that started in the Kalos region, and 12 years later, we're back in the Kalos region with not much advancement during those 12 years.
Years of academy training wasted!
Now, this might sound crazy coming from me, but I don't think you need good graphics to make a good game. In this current AAA gaming generation where graphics are getting too realistic, budgets are ballooning out of control, game developers are being crunched, striving for the ultra realistic graphics is not something I want for Pokemon. This is a game franchise about cartoon animals in the end. It just needs to look acceptable enough with a nice enough art style for a good experience. But the problem is, I think Game Freak keeps trying to bite off more than they can chew. Like, think about it. If you don't have the time, resources, or talent to make realistic city buildings, why make a video game set in a realistic city in the first place? Or, if you can't hire voice actors to put voice acting in the game, why keep including these cinematic cutscenes where characters move their mouth in real time but there's no audio, so it looks as if the game is glitching and the game is mocked all over social media? Write these cinematic cutscenes out if you can't do voices. Are you stupid? Still, I know Pokemon fans care a lot about its tree graphics, but it's my belief that you don't need good graphics to make a good video game. After all, there are video games I love that also have I also think terrible graphics. Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's the gameplay, story, characters, and world that matters anyways. I don't know if this is a hot take, but Pokemon Sword and Shield is not a good game, not because of the graphics like the internet would like to make you believe. It's a terrible game because of the garbage map design and gameplay. Pokemon BDSP is terrible not because of its graphics, but because it chose to faithfully adapt without making improvements. You don't need me to rant about the obvious. I have better things to do in my life, bigger fish to fry. As such, this is all I will talk about graphics in this video. Summed up, it sucks! Let's really talk about what actually matters. Part 3. What actually sucks? As I said in the intro, I do like the game despite its visuals, so before I explain why, I should discuss all of the major flaws of it first. And these are the flaws that actually matter, not what grifters would tell you, so buckle up. First of all, oh my sweet Lord Arceus' plates of all Pokemon types, this game's tutorial is horrendous. I think many people who crapped on the game on social media did it because they only played the first 6 hours and shut the game off. I think the tutorial is that long. I'm not joking. I think getting to rank F is when the tutorial wheels all come off, and I was already on my third 2 to 3 hour stream when that happened. How did they manage to make a game with a worse pacing intro than Pokemon Sun and Moon? I thought Pokemon was done with forced long lazy tutorials after all the backlash from the Alola games. What the heck happened here? What's even worse is that the game has you on a very tight leash for the first 5 hours. You cannot leave where you're supposed to be without some NPC scolding you. I can see that I'm supposed to follow these rooftops. There's railings everywhere on this rooftop to guide me where I'm supposed to go, Game Freak. You don't need to have an NPC tell me to follow them across the rooftops. A freaking toddler can figure this out. What's shocking for me is that I think this game is probably the least beginner-friendly Pokemon game ever, gameplay or story-wise, so I do not suggest playing this game if this is your first time playing Pokemon. I'll go more in depth later in this video, but this Pokemon game was meant for the veteran, long-time Pokemon players in my opinion, so the fact that they treat you like a toddler for the first couple hours is almost insulting. Do they think we're stupid? Okay, maybe we are stupid. What's worse, despite the long tutorial, it does a bad job at telling you what all the new mechanics are. Just the same regular stuff like, "Sir, a Pokeball to catch a Pokemon," and "Use the Pokemon Center to heal." Maybe I'm just stupid, or maybe I skipped too much dialogue, but I bet you 95% of people watching this video and actually play the game are like me. Like, Did you guys know what plus moves do at the end of the tutorial? Or what being confused or being drowsy do when during the Mew real-time battles? Or why you can use items some of the time when you want to? Anyways, after you get to rank F, the game does improve significantly, so if you have a hard time getting to the game, do try to make it to this point. You don't have to go through all ranks from Z to F. The game skips from rank V to rank F because we have to pay respects or something, I don't know. However, my biggest issue with this game comes after this. The biggest problem with the game for me is not the graphics or gameplay, it's actually the structure of the game. And the fact is, this game couldn't justify itself for taking place in one city in the end. And this game doesn't do a good job with the feeling of progression. So okay, hear me out. Once you're done with the godforsakenly long tutorial, basically the entirety of Lumiose City opens up. Until the final part of the story, the game doesn't actually tell you where the story is headed. Thus that there's some mysterious things happening at the center of Lumiose City with Prism Tower. And until like the final fourth of the game, you really don't know what direction the game is going. I need to know what the main threat or goal is to get invested in the game. Without it, it's hard to care what is happening in the game. Meanwhile, the game is structured in a bad way as well. Here's how the game mostly flows. First, you go through this cutscene where you gather with your Team MZ friends to discuss 3 rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon that you have to fight. Then you have to fight those 3 rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon spread somewhere else through the city. During or after that, you have to battle random trainers in the fighting zone so that you can get your rank up ticket. When that's done, the game tells you that you have to do these rank up matches with a certain named NPC for every rank. They're the boss battles, so they're basically this game's equivalent of gym battles because most of these trainers use one type. The Mega Evolution Pokemon boss battles are pretty fun, and the rank up match battles being gym leader matches fixed one of my biggest problems about the previous game Legends Arceus, which was that the game had no gym challenges. So I'm glad it's here in this game because these boss battles are pretty fun, and the characters themselves are fun too. God bless you, Short King and Zipper Bra E-Girl. But the problem is this. Usually with Pokemon games, every time you clear a boss fight, usually gym leaders, you open up a Mew section of the game. Mew areas or routes to traverse, Mew cities or dungeons to access, Mew movement abilities like unlocking HM moves. Even Legends Arceus did this properly because you unlock Mew biomes as you progress through the game. However, because the game takes place in one city, that feeling of opening up stuff is not there. The story is mostly boring because it's a series of random events with linear storyline and boring cutscenes because there is no build up and opening up new areas. There is no feeling of escalation. You know what I mean? It just feels like, oh, we're gonna do a story arc about the E-Girl and their stands. After that it's, oh, we're gonna do the story arc about the Lone Shark Yakuza people, with no feeling of progression. Those damn strategy meetings with your Team MZ friends aren't meetings. You can't choose anything or strategize on what to do with the city. It's not like Persona 5 hideout meetings where the player can plan out what to do. It's just a predetermined cutscenes that you cannot skip. That's just repeat of, we need to stop the rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon. At least Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had it so that you can do the game's main 3 storylines, that being gym matches, Titan Pokemon and Team Star battles, in any order you wanted. Despite the lack of level scaling, you could beat most of the game in the order you wanted, when you wanted. With this game, it's just they're doing the unskippable cutscenes with curry croissants again to scare the French people.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette merde? Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette merde?
There is zero room for freedom other than choosing what order you do some rogue Mega Evolution battles. I think this could have easily fixed, even if the entire game took place in one city. If there were much more dungeons or areas outside of Lumiose in the vicinity to unlock. Or have it so that you unlock new rideable Pokemon so you can get access to areas you couldn't get to before. But unfortunately, I think I've only counted 2 dungeons that you get to traverse in the game, and this is clearly not enough. And as for the latter, there are no Mew movement options available other than walking. This one is outrageous for me because if you think about it, the original Pokemon X and Y was all about the movement. The original Gen 6 games had not just the bike riding, but the inline skate riding, and it was literally one of the biggest features in the game. Lumiose City would have been perfect for skates. Imagine all the fun parkour and trick jumps we can do off of rooftops like a Tony Hawk's game if the game had skates. But no, we could even have rideable Pokemon. Freaking Pokemon X and Y had rideable Pokemon to some extent, and one of Pokemon Arceus' best features was the rideable Pokemon. For Game Freak, it's always 2 steps forward, but 1 step backwards. Anyways, once you get to the final quarter of the game and you see what the actual plot is about, it gets really interesting. However, everything before that felt like filler, just a series of random mishaps you go through. Because of this might sound very harsh, but due to the game's unique structure of being only in one city with no new areas to open up, linearity in the story, and that goddamn long tutorial, I feel like this game has zero replayability factor. This is the biggest problem with the game for me. The whole premise of the game is that it takes place in one city. That was the selling point. However, taking place in one city, it just felt like it was more of a limitation to the gameplay rather than a jumping around for a new creative gameplay. And that's where the game fumbled the most for me, not the graphics. Other than, you know, cutting development time and resources, this game really didn't have a good excuse to take place in one city. However, this didn't really ruin the experience for me, hence why I still do like the game. It does not ruin the experience for me because the core Pokemon gameplay of battling and catching is really fun in this game, and that's what really matters in the end for me. It's a matter of taste. If you don't find the core gameplay fun, you will think the game is dog crap. However, if you're like me, the core gameplay is solid and addicting enough so the game is not ruined. Got it? Okay. Part 4. Lumiose City. Now that we have discussed my major problems overall with the game, let's get to the things in more detail. Some mixed, some good stuff that made me like the game. Let's start with the major selling point of the game, Lumiose City, and ignoring the ugly buildings, it's a mixed bag. Firstly, despite the lack of interiors, I like the roof climbing and the parkour courses they have in this game. You have easy access to only certain buildings on the map, and some building roofs are actually quite tricky to reach with tricky jumps required. There's also a lot of these scaffolding parkour courses scattered throughout the map, which adds to the experience. I mean, this game's no Mirror's Edge or anything, but there was a lot more parkour in the game than I thought it would be. In the later half of the game, figuring how to access the rooftop for the Rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon was a challenge in itself, and it was not a cakewalk. Outside of the story, the parkour is not useless either. The game actually encourages you to explore the rooftops and do parkour courses because rare Pokemon like Eevee, Dratini, and Larvitar spawns on isolated rooftops. After completing the game on camera, I just ran around freely jumping across rooftops, and I was surprised about the stuff I randomly found. One of the biggest complaints about Legends Arceus was the lack of need for exploration. It was just empty space everywhere and nothing to discover. The only two collectible stuff to find on the map was useless. There were Wisps, whose only purpose was getting a goddamn spirit tomb, and Unknowns, which has no purpose except for collection's sake. Again, that game had nothing going for it other than catching Pokemon. See why I hated that game? I was seriously worried they were going to do the exact same thing with Zygarde cells in this game when they announced it. Imagine needing to gather 100 Zygarde cells to unlock Zygarde's true form. That would have been absolute officer ball sucking. But thank the Lord, they didn't go with that. Instead, the game makes you find these purple screws scattered throughout the map, which acts as this game's Korok seeds, but you can actually spend them for useful perks that helps the gameplay immensely, just like the Korok seeds. I suggest spending it on the catch rate perk immensely because some of these mons refuse to get caught. It will make your life so much better. Also, unlike Legends Arceus, this game has almost all the items you will find in a modern Pokemon game, so there's much stuff to discover all over the map such as TMs and held items. So, the free roaming for Pokemon and item discovery is a big step up from Legends Arceus. I'd like to give Game Freak a big thumbs up for that. So in short, if you ignore the eye-assaulting graphics, the exploration of the city isn't too bad. However, I do have two major issues with Lumiose City in this game. Firstly, the game lacks memorable buildings or landmarks. The city looks all the same. Lumiose City needs more landmarks. The only defining landmark is Prism Tower. You know, the whole premise of the game is that Lumiose City is going through heavy redevelopment by a company, so why does every single building in the game looks the same? The entire city feels like a boring, monotonous city. They should have added more weird looking buildings or bridges or something. Something that would make parts of the city more distinct. I mean, I've never been to France, but I imagine that Paris had more one famous building other than the Eiffel Tower. Where is the Pokemon equivalent of the Notre Dame Cathedral or Arc de Triomphe or that ugly black brutalist building that everyone hates? They should have, I don't know, colored each section of the city differently at least or something, because one side of Lumiose City looks exactly the same as the other side. The second big problem in the game is what's not in the game, and that's interiors. Just like the Paldea games, not being able to enter buildings is a really big bad issue. Even in Pokemon X and Y, you could enter cafe shops. Why are baristas standing outside waiting for customers to drink in this game? And why do all the stores have no interiors? I know gameplay wise it doesn't break the game for not having store interiors, but I play video games for immersion, Game Freak. This is not acceptable. What's funny is that the few places you can enter, such as the Lumiose Museum, are actually graphically stunning. It almost feels like I'm playing an entirely different game when I'm in these places. Like for real, this room does not look like it belongs in the same game where buildings look like cardboard boxes. What happened? They're capable of making beautiful looking interiors now. It's clear they needed more time, or they couldn't optimize the game or something. I did mention this in part 3, but the lack of dungeons is seriously one of the biggest disappointments in the game. Like, it's kind of insane that they couldn't make dedicated dungeon for Xerneas or Yveltal, two of the Kalos legendaries. Xerneas just shows up randomly in a park when you battle it, and Yveltal just shows up randomly on top of a building when you battle it. Is this the best I can do? The Lord of Life and Death just showing up randomly in the city? I miss actual dungeon places like Sky Pillar or Mount Coronet. Those were the good old days. However, there is one dungeon that made me have some hope for future entries, because it is the best dungeon in a modern Pokemon game. Minor spoilers, because the fact that you get to visit this place is a bit of a spoiler, but it's Lysandre Labs. Lysandre Labs is the best dungeon in a modern Pokemon game. We need more places like this. The fact that you get to visit this place, the same place you visited in the original Pokemon X and Y 12 years ago, it was like going back to 2013, but in a dream. In this game, now the place is abandoned, full of rubble, and filled with wild Pokemon, so it's atmospheric as hell. If they didn't play upbeat music in here, this place would have actually felt like a horror game area. I love it. They also brought back the Warp Maze puzzle, and you need to figure out how to get through this place with brain power. It was so refreshing to actually need to pull out a map in a Pokemon game. When's the last time that happened in a Pokemon game? I legit do not know. I hope future games have dungeons like this, because this place made me remember playing a classic Pokemon game again. Still, I guess they did a good job capturing the feeling of Paris, being attacked by strangers in an alleyway at night, being pickpocketed by a Chinese person the moment you get off your train when you arrive. And this is an accurate depiction of modern day Europe, huh? Part 5. The real-time battle. Let's get to the main meat of the game and the main positive I have about the game actually. The reason why I have 50 plus hours on this game. And it's the new real-time battling system that this game introduced. Before I go in though, I must make disclaimers. First, I have never played a Xenoblade game before because I'm a person that goes out and showers every day, so I can't comment on if this game is a poor man's or improved version of that game series. Second, I think I said this multiple times in the past, but I don't play a lot of turn-based RPG games in general, so I'm not the most experienced person in this genre. Okay? Don't get your pirate panties all in a bunch. That being said, I really like this new attempt by Game Freak to completely overhaul the battling by making everything happen in real time. Honestly, did not expect this when I first started the game. I thought the city would be the main feature, but I swear, battling is where most of the development effort of the game went into, because this overhaul to the Pokemon battling system is so big, it felt like a completely different game. I feel like they should have marketed this more, because the real-time battling system is basically what made the game for me. To explain to people who haven't played the game, yes, everything is now in real time. No longer you have to take turns in Pokemon, and you can no longer wait forever between moves. PPs do not matter anymore. Cooldown time is what really matters now. Cooldown time actually makes the combat interesting because you can't spam the same attack anymore like Swampert spamming Surf in Pokemon Emerald. It may be a bad idea to have only one attack move out of 4 moves now, because you'll basically be a sitting duck after using it until the cooldown time goes by. You can't even spam items anymore. Even opening up your bag has a cooldown. Took me forever to realize there is a cooldown prompt on screen for the bag. Attack speed matters a lot as well. Usually stronger moves take longer to charge up or have long attack animations, while weaker moves can be used very fast with little cooldown. Due to this, you have to be careful about what moves you pick, and it's a new type of strategizing that hasn't been seen in previous Pokemon games. What is also interesting is that there are different types of attacks now. Like some attacks are a beam that Pokemon can use from afar. Some attacks are the Pokemon physically hitting another Pokemon, so the geography of where you're battling actually matters. Some Pokemon attacks just damage everything around you, so you can hit multiple Pokemon at once. You can tell a lot of thought went into every single attack in the game, and that's why I think most of Game Freak's development effort went into this. However, like all new systems, there's things that need to be fixed or balanced out in future entries, like damage over time attacks such as Sand Tomb or Toxic especially is way too OP that it almost breaks the game. If you get another Pokemon poisoned, since everything now is in real time, you can just run away and wait until the Pokemon runs out of HP. Yeah, this is way too simple a way to cheese the game, and this needs to be adjusted. Also, abilities are gone in this game, so Pokemon whose identities are based off of gimmick abilities got the short end of the stick. Like, Aegislash's stance charge is just an animation in this game, I believe, so the thing is way too weak in this game mode. Still, despite some kinks and wrinkles that need to be fixed, I was honestly impressed with the new battle system, cause you have to think in real time now. No longer can you wait 5 minutes between each move like some kind of chess game. Due to this, the battles are very fast paced and end quickly. I swear, some battles are over faster than it takes for a Pokemon Diamond and Pearl health bar to go down. Also, the moves Pokemon use, different effects Pokemon get from moves, everything happens so fast, the message prompts go by so fast. I think this might be the most hardcore Pokemon game ever, to the point that I will not suggest this to new players. Like, imagine getting a 5-year-old to play this game. There's too much crap happening on the screen at one time. So many messages just fly by. Without prior knowledge, would they understand what the attack Screech does? Or what using focus energy does when everything happens in the span of 2 seconds with no time for a break? Even a veteran player like me, because you have no time to wait and think about it, a lot of times I sometimes press the wrong button out of panic or just by accident. Or I do stupid things I will never do in a normal Pokemon game, like using fighting moves against a ghost type Pokemon, or using Toxic against a paralyzed Pokemon or something. In conclusion, the real type Pokemon gameplay of Legends ZA is what made me enjoy the game in the end. It actually rarely got boring when I had to grind with trainers to level up my Pokemon or something, and that's quite a feat by Game Freak's development team. It's really fun. The fast thinking needed is addicting. I love it. Now, I can't wait for some fat Mithra body pillow owning neckbeard to call me stupid for enjoying such a shallow ripoff of a game. Thank you, Xenoblade fans. You really make me want to play those games. Part 6. The Wild Zones and Battle Zones. Forget the Iono Zone, we've got the Canary Zone in Lumiose City. You can kiss your ass goodbye, trans hair colored lady. You have been replaced. Okay, actually, I mean, we have the Battle Zone and Wild Zones in Pokemon Legends ZA, not the Canary Zone. But, oh my god, her sitting posture needs a fix. Why is her plush getting banged by Electros? That's a little sus. Anyways, one of the major problems I had with Pokemon Legends Arceus was the lack of trainer battles. Except for during boring story events or rare scripted side quests, there were no trainers to encounter in the open empty fields of Hisui. Well, Legends ZA fixed this as well. You're gonna be battling a lot in this game. Now, we have the battle zones that sprout up in the city when it becomes night. Lumiose City basically becomes Gotham or Night City, where trainers are out for blood, I mean battles, in these battle zones. The fact that they sprout up every night means you can have access to them anytime. So it's a really good level grinding mechanic. No need to spam the VS Seeker or something. Anyways, I really like how encountering trainers were executed. In the old Pokemon games, there were always those youngster Joeys standing in the middle of the road, waiting for you, the protagonist trainer, to pass by so they could force you into a Pokemon battle. Now, the tables haven't turned, they have flipped in Pokemon Legends ZA. Yes, the trainers will challenge you to battle if they see you just like the old games. However, in this game, you can pull an Uno reverse card. You can be like Batman in the Arkham games because you can sneak up on trainers and their Pokemon first, attacking them with a move, starting a battle. The game actually encourages you to sneak upon trainers because attacking them will give you advantage. On the flip side, getting seen first by an NPC will make you freeze for a while, so will give you a disadvantage. It's really satisfying when you pull it off, honestly, and if you have a strong enough Pokemon, you can just one-shot an opponent Pokemon with one move. It feels like murdering someone else's animal in cold blood. It's satisfying as heck. In short, with the real-time battle mechanic and stealth that's required, battling random trainers have never been this fun before. Man, I love being able to commit crimes in France! The wild areas from Legends Arceus are back too, and they're much more fun than Legends Arceus as well, despite it taking place in small, cramped areas compared to the previous game. On the contrary, having the game take place in small, cramped areas actually makes the game more fun and intense. It's very difficult to flee from dangerous Pokemon, and you can get mobbed very easily, which makes it very tense. Also, in Legends Arceus, the stealth creeping up on Pokemon, aiming Pokemons in real time didn't matter once you pull out your Pokemon for a battle, because the game goes into traditional turn-based combat, and it's a completely different video game. That's a serious problem I had about the game looking back now, because it was breaking pace and immersion constantly. It turned into a completely different game, when the game switched modes from real-time to turn-based. In Legends EA, it's different. Like the battle system, everything is in real time. You still have to dodge Alpha Pokemon's attacks even when you pull out a Pokemon to battle, so the gameplay feels much more natural. Dodging Alpha Pokemon trying to murder you while thinking of what moves to use on the Pokemon, or trying to heal your Pokemon, it gets pretty hectic, and I like the fast instinct that's needed by the player. An entire mob of our Pokemon can all charge at you for the kill, and they do not take turns, and it's even harder to run away because of the cramped wild areas. Anyone who was trying to get a Gibble in Wild Zone 8 early in the game knows how terrifying being chased by aggravated Machops, Drillburs, Numos, Sandals, Alpha Camerupt, and Alpha Krokorok is. These Pokemon were out to behead me and put my head on a stick. I felt like I was Adebayo in the ending of Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 6. This was super fun and very rewarding once I managed to get that goddamn Gabite. Part 7. Mega Evolution. Let's now talk about the Kalos region's biggest identity, Mega Evolution. How is it in this game? Well, design-wise, I liked most of the new Mega Evolved Pokemon that was introduced in this game. There are some stinkers like Feraligatrs, Skibidi Noggin, and Victreebel looking like a giant yellow ball sack, but overall, I liked most of them. I liked there was a nice balance of badass looking ones like Mega Excadrill, cute ones like Mega Clefable, and funny meme ones like Mega Starmie, which became a giant meme online, and rightfully so. My personal favorite is Frostlass because it's really playing up the motifo of being based off a frozen ghost lady in Japanese folklore or something. However, there were some obvious Pokemon that should have got to Mega Evolutions, and it shocked me that they didn't get one. Like, how is it that we still don't have Mega Flygon yet? Honestly, I have to respect the hatred grind Game Freak devs give to Flygon. They just disrespect Flygon for the love of the game. Also, I feel like some obvious Pokemons that should have gotten Megas didn't get one, and that was perplexing for me too. When I saw that Emma was gonna be in the game, I was for sure Mega Meowstic would be a thing since her and Esper was a thing, but that's not the case. She does not use a Mega Meowstic. There are some weird game design choices as well. For example, some of the easy to get popular Pokemon like Pyroar's Megastone are unlocked way too late in the game, so you can't use it for most of the game. Also, why is the Mega Evolution Stone for Drampa available pretty early on in the game, but you can't catch an actual Drampa until the very late game? That's some Officer Blueballing there, blah Game Freak.
Thanks for the tease, assholes!
And I have to address it. It really sucks that Mega Stones for the Kalos starters are locked behind an online paywall. Better fork up that Nintendo Switch Online subscription fee if you want access to Kalos starters Mega Evolution, which should have been a thing already in the original Pokemon X and Y. Screw your greedy ass, Nintendo and Game Freak. Let's talk about the boss battles against Rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon now, because I don't think people talk about this part of the game very much, even though I thought it was one of the best parts of the game. The Rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon battles in this game are basically the boss Noble Pokemon fights from Legends Arceus, but better. Okay, so I have to dunk on Legends Arceus again and tell you how this game fixed it, sounding like a broken record. In the previous game, the Noble Pokemon boss battles were lame as hell for me. Again, there's a disconnect between real-time gameplay and turn-based combat just like the rest of the gameplay. You started the boss battle by doing a real-time boss action fight where you have to dodge boss attacks and throw balls at the boss, but when the boss is down, you pull out a Pokemon and the game goes into the traditional turn-based combat system. It feels like a completely different video game between the two modes, going from a poor man's Dark Souls boss to Pokemon gameplay out of nowhere. Also, side note, this might be a nitpick, but just coloring another Pokemon yellow and calling it a day was lame. The gigantic Mega Evolution designed Pokemon are better and more threatening. Anyways, Legend ZA fixed the boss fight again by making the battle 100% be in real time. You now fight alongside your Pokemon and have to instruct Pokemon to use moves against the boss Mega in real time, while dodging boss attacks at the same time. It's actually pretty fun because the bosses are like Zelda bosses. You have to learn the patterns and dodge them, while at the same time gathering the Mega Energy Orbs so you can Mega Evolve your Pokemon and do significant damage against the boss. At the same time, you have to think about keeping your Pokemon alive and using the right moves like a regular Pokemon battle in this game. So there's a lot of things going on at the same time, but fun in a good way. It's actually more important to keep yourself alive than your own Pokemon, because at least you have 6 Pokemon to spare and you can heal them with items. But you? The human?
Only human.
The moment you get hit too many times, it's an automatic game over. One slight minor complaint about the game I have is your human character has no visible HP bar. The screen goes into this Call of Duty style bloodshot screen whenever you're getting close to blacking out, and it's hard to keep track of how much health you have. I hope in the next installment they add a human HP bar. I also appreciated the different boss Pokemon that suited each Pokemon's character. I really liked the Banette boss fight because it was more about figuring out which Banette is the real one because it creates clones of itself. Halucha was pretty badass because it felt like you were fighting against the caped Crusader Batman. That thing just wanted to punch you or flying press you because it's a wrestler. Who cannot forget Mega Starmie, basically acting like the Majora's Mask boss fight in Majora's Mask, it running around and attacking you with sudden offbeat moves. And finally, there's Zygarde just aura farming, ignoring your Pokemon, slowly walking up to you and attacking you with strong moves. All of these boss fights were pretty memorable and fun. However, Legend ZA kind of failed in one aspect about Mega Evolution. You see, when the game was announced, one of the biggest concerns I had was this: the fact that non-Mega Evolution Pokemon will feel useless. I remember in 2016 during the press tour of Pokémon Sun and Moon, director Shigeru Mori stated this about Mega Evolution. He said that the reason why they made Z moves instead of Mega Evolution was that Mega Evolution only gave a select few individual Pokemon special treatment, and they wanted something that every Pokemon can have access to. That's probably why every Pokemon can use the gimmick stuff like Gigantamax and Terrestrialization in subsequent generations. This is a genuine concern that I agree with. Screw favoritism. Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon. That is only the selfish perception of people. I was curious how they would fix this with Mega Evolution returning, and unfortunately, they honestly didn't. They sure added a lot of new Mega Evolutions in the game, but every Pokemon that didn't get Mega Evolutions feel like, why are you here and why are you so useless? Because they are indeed useless. It's a shame too, because I really wanted to use the Crocodile line because it's one of my favorite Unova Pokemon, but I had to box it up because it was useless without a Mega Evolution. It's worse because the boss fights are basically impossible without Mega Evolution. Don't try the Camelot Mega Evolution boss fight without a Mega Evolved Pokemon. Worst mistake of my life. Oh sure, you can use plus moves to deal damage to the boss fights, but they take forever to charge up, so it's not worth the effort. Again, this game is not really meant for beginner Pokemon players. If you don't know which Pokemon have Mega Evolution, plan out a team with Pokemon that can Mega Evolve, know what type the Mega Pokemon are gonna be beforehand, you're gonna be in for a hard time. I almost respect them for not being fair against newbies. Part 8. Finishing the Kalos story. Let's now talk about the story and characters of the game, because I surprisingly have a lot to say about it. First of all, let's talk about the cast of characters in Legends ZA. They're mostly fun, and I have nothing bad to say about them. This is probably the most diverse cast of any Pokemon game, and I'm not talking about their skin color or gender, you cretins, because the whole concept is different parties of Lumiose City residents coming together and bonding. I especially like the streamer girl, cause every scene involving her is gold. Did she canonically say the gamer word in this scene?
What a f***ing
I like that the main scientist is an ex-Team Flare member, and the game actually confirms she basically pulled in Albert Speer during the Nuremberg trials. She sold off all of her Nazi friends for a plea deal. I guess every single Team Flare that's not in this game is in jail now, RIP Bozo. I also really enjoyed the Lone Shark Yakuza character, he was a lot of fun. I know some people found him lame because he's a lone shark with a heart of gold that just wants to help the city. But this is an all ages game, for Christ's sake. We don't need accurate portrayals of lone sharks in Pokemon. That'll be too depressing.
Where's my f***ing money, Daddy? Put the gun down. It's my f***ing money!
However, I'm not a big fan of Jacinthe. It's not because she's a billionaire that tells people what to do and enslave other people through the means of late-stage capitalism. No, it's because I'm a racist. I'm also glad Game Freak broke a lot of cliches. I really expected the corporation characters to be a twist villain in the end, because every single rich company in Pokemon history up to this point have been villains. But the rich guys are actually the good guys and trying to help the people of Lumiose City? What? Now that's how you know the game is fictional. Anyways, jokes aside, I do want to get to the main meat of the story that I teased earlier in the video. What this game is all about. I went into this without getting spoiled, and if you don't want to get spoiled, skip to the next section. But let's just say, if you're ever underwhelmed by Pokemon X and Y's story, but was a fan of Kalos' themes, lore, and premise, saw the potential, this game actually delivered. When I saw in the trailers that AZ would be back, I assumed he would be just there for fan service. Never did I expect that they would actually continue the plot about the ultimate weapon from Pokemon X and Y, because that plot point from the original games was weird, like a fever dream. Turns out the entire plot of Legends ZA actually revolves around Flawed, AZ, and of course, Lysandre. This game is basically wrapping up their story from X and Y properly. That's also why I almost do not recommend this game if you have not played Pokemon X and Y. After all, if you didn't play X and Y, you'll be confused with so many things in the game, such as, who is this really tall guy that's somehow 3,000 years old? That's now only Hotel. Who is this hobo guy, and why did he name himself after a Death Note character? The whole game's theme is actually penitence.
Penitence, man, will pass.
Which is a pretty ballsy, mature theme for a children's game that I never would have dreamt Pokemon tried to tackle. There's multiple characters in the game that deal with penitence. You have AZ dealing with his guilt of using the ultimate weapon by making friends with the younger nature of kids. We have the scientist Mabel, who's actually paying for her sins by being under house arrest and being a wage slave scientist. We also have those ex-Team Flare members who had good intentions and didn't agree with what Lysandre did, but now has to live with the stigma of being ex-Team Flare members. They run millennial-style cafes now. This is all pretty deep stuff. And lastly, there's of course Lysandre himself. I really didn't think they would bring him back, because let's face it, he was a terrible villain with a bad reputation. He was a badly written villain with a comical, evil plan to destroy the world that felt like just a repeat of Cyrus from Pokemon Platinum, but with even more pretentious dialogue. I mean, there's a reason why ProZD's character name for a badly written villain character is named Lysandaroth.
This world is imperfect.
What?
If only I could wipe away the impurities.
Is anybody else listening to
And
this?
make it as beautiful as me.
If you think about it, Lysandre was such a bad villain that he killed off the stereotypical Pokemon villain boss man cliche. He could no longer have the straight evil guy leading the evil team anymore after the L-Man. Team Flare and his character was so bad, every major Pokemon antagonist team after Generation 6 had a twist to them, like they weren't actually evil and aren't the real villains. So to bring back Lysandre in this game, that was a bold move for the developers. Also, they do the amnesia plot where he doesn't remember what he did at the start, so I thought that was a little too convenient at first. But as it progressed through the game, his memory starts to come back, and I was for sure he was gonna be the final boss again, like Harry Osborn in Spider-Man 3 or something. But no, the man stays on the good side until the end. My man actually collects all the 100 Zygarde cells for us, so we don't have to. What a Chad. And he actually shows growth by saying that he no longer wants to recreate the world. The exchange with him in the final parts of the game and the post game is really great because it recontextualizes his motivations in X and Y as well. He tried to give much like Xerneas, but when he saw the world was ugly, he became cynical and wanted to take back like Yveltal. Zygarde showed him the errors of his way, and now he sees that while the world is not perfect, the connections people and Pokemon make at places like Lumiose City is what makes life beautiful. That's where the X, Y, and Z naming of the Kalos games come from, by the way. Joining of lines that were never expected to meet, coming together like a graph. It wasn't because the stupid deer, winged hell beast, and snake monster is shaped like XYZ. There was an actual lore reason behind it. And Lysandre is now the new AZ, the homeless man that will wander the earth for 3,000 years. I wonder if he will ever show up in a future game. Speaking of AZ, I really like that they actually killed him off in the ending of the game. And we even get to attend his funeral. We even read his final will and testimony. And he thanks us, the young people, for taking care of the second ultimate weapon thing at Prism Tower. And saying that despite his guilt and regrets, he can die happy since he befriended the new young generation of people. Why is the writing in this game good here? And especially, how is a Kalos game writing good? That's why I like Pokemon sequels in general. I like seeing characters grow and seeing regions change. Pokemon Heart Gold did it with the Kanto characters, Pokemon Black and White 2 did it with the Unova characters, and Pokemon ZA did it with the Kalos characters. That being all said, it's a shame that the final Angie boss battle is really lame compared to the rest of the fun Mega Evolution boss fights. This final boss fight was very bad and stupid because it was just attacking these tentacle things that are damage sponges while hiding behind the wall. It takes forever, and despite the visual spectacle of fighting a possessed Eiffel Tower, what a letdown! Still, the Zygarde boss fight at the post game made it up for me, and I see Zygarde as the final boss of this game, not those stupid tentacle monsters, so it wasn't a big issue. The Zygarde boss fight is actually quite hard, so get prepared for it before going in. After years of getting shafted by the Pokemon developers from being a nothing burger Pokemon that just hanging out in a cave in the original games, cancelling Pokemon Z or an XY sequel with Zygarde story, being relegated to a Korok Seed quest in Generation 7, we finally come around to Zygarde getting the respect it deserves, so I can now die happy. So yeah, in conclusion, despite my problems with the structure of this game and the story, it did a damn good job giving the Kalos lore and plotline actual closure, and as someone who saw the potential of Kalos in 2013, it felt like my wishes were getting fulfilled. Good job, Game Freak. Oh, and I was gonna ask, other than AZ, Emma, and Lysandre, why there's not much returning Kalos characters in the game, because I expected at least Korrina and Diantha to appear. But then the DLC trailer dropped while I was editing this video and Korrina's gonna be in it. That kid character looks like Diantha, so welp, they saved it for the DLC. Stay classy, Game Freak. Now, I really wish we get to fight Caleb or Serena like Red on Mount Silver in the DLC because that would be badass. Part 9, Minor Things. Before we wrap up the review, here are some minor points I failed to bring up until now. If you're sane and play other games, you probably didn't notice it, but there have been a couple fixes and technical advancements compared to previous Pokemon games. First, NPCs have diverse faces now and almost everyone is unique looking. One of the biggest complaints when we got to the Switch era was the clone NPC problem, where they only have one model for one type of NPC, so when multiple NPCs show up, it looks like the Grand Army of the Republic is invading or something. Well, in this game, even amongst the same trainer type, there's variations in faces, skin, and hair color, so this is no longer an issue. Hell, even the nurses at Pokémon Center all look different now. Gone are the days where the Pokémon Centers was run by one giant Habsburg family. Second, Lumiose City is a lot more lively compared to their previous Pokemon cities. Yeah, it's no Los Santos or Night City or Novigrad, but NPCs walk now and don't stand around like statue. There's people jogging, and that's better enough than Legends Arceus. God, Juve Life Village was embarrassing. There's also a lot of Pokemon hanging around naturally, like the Trash Pokemon or Trash Panda Pokemon hanging out in alleyways. Thirdly, I wonder if anyone noticed this, but humans and Pokemon now have real-time pathfinding abilities. This one is huge because in the previous games, when the game needed NPC or Pokemon walk from point A to B in the story, there would always be some kind of black screen. This is finally fixed now because there are many times in the game where NPCs run alongside you, or you have to follow another Pokemon that moves around naturally. Oh my god, Pokemon is now living in the future! Oh, and lastly, there are no major bugs, at least during my gameplay. At least that's been fixed in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Maybe it's thanks to the extra juice power of the Switch 2, but there were no crazy visual glitches or game-breaking bugs, and all the clips you see online are probably from emulators. The only time the game kinda trips out is if a battle happens on a weirdly shaped terrain, and sometimes some NPCs don't load fast enough if I move too fast between roofs, but it's a rare occurrence. This game is so much more polished than Scarlet and Violet, thank the Lord. Oh, and side quests seem to be more varied than Pokemon Legends Arceus. I remember when I played Legends Arceus, I did not like side quests because I swear 80% of them were "bring me yesterday Pokemon" fetch quests. For this game, there are fetch quests of course, but most of the side quests are actually trainer battles, and this is much more varied and fun. Also, most of these are trainers with very specific teams or requirements to battle, with the reward being a rare held item or access to a new area. You might think it'll be easy, but in the late game, there are some harder ones where you have to strategize for, like requirement being 1v1 with a specific Pokemon, like 1v1 Pikachu battle for a Light Ball. There was even an Elite Four challenge but with only 1v1 with Furfo battles. The lady with an entire Pokemon team that only Mew self-destruct or explosion gave me a good laugh. So yeah, the side quests are way more varied in Legends Arceus, another thing I'm glad this game fixed. I swear, this video is just me repeating how this game improved over Legends Arceus, no wonder I liked it. Oh, and lastly, why does the music go so hard in this game? I mean, I guess Pokemon has never let us down with music, but it's nice to hear new renditions of classic Gen 6 Pokemon themes. These bridges though, they go so hard. Conclusion. Like I said in the very beginning of the video, judging a Pokemon game is hard. What Pokemon fans actually care about is different from how normal people judge a game. Remember when I said people care more about if their favorite Pokemon is in it or not? I kid you not, I've seen a commenter say Sword and Shield is bad, but they like it cause it has feel in the DLC. While I'm not on this level of Pokemon fan craze, I will admit that I'm still a Pokemon fan, and this game made me realize I still do care about Pokemon. I enjoyed the game as a Pokemon fan. While the game has many problems, playing it was like eating comfort food again. Comfort food that isn't high quality, but it's still comfort food. A comfort food that I've waited for so long. You could say I've waited 3,000 years. We finally got a Pokemon game that respected the Kalos region and Zygarde, and a Pokemon game that fixed a lot of my complaints from previous entries. So as a fan, I enjoyed this game, and will recommend it to any Pokemon fan, even the ones that stopped playing after Generation 8 or some other point. But did I enjoy Legends Z as a gamer? That's harder to answer. Yeah, the graphics are lousy, there's many questionable game design choices, there's severely lacking stuff like dungeons and building interiors or voice acting. But I was addicted to the Pokemon gameplay. After all, the Pokemon battles are fun, the Mega Evolution boss battles are fun, collecting the Pokemon and completing the Pokédex while doing Mabel challenges is fun. I think Reggie said it best.
The game is fun. The game is a battle. If it's not fun, why bother?
Based on all my windbag rambling in this video, you can tell how much I have mixed feelings on this game, as a gamer and as a Pokemon fan. But, unlike the other modern Pokemon games, this game is genuinely fun, so I did bother in the end. So yes, Pokemon Legends ZA is a fun game. I've started this channel talking about how the modern Pokemon game sucks. Nah, actually I lied. My first video was talking about Star Wars lightsaber sounds. My second video was about how the modern Pokemon game sucks. We've come a long way from those days, fellow Jerrycans. Just look back at the road we've come so far. Complaining about selling the same game twice but with Ultra in the title. Pokemon Go cash-in baby's first Pokemon game with Kanto member berries. National Dex cutting snooze fest with high quality animation. Faithful chibi crap make that assaulted so many people's nostalgia. Zelda riff-off wannabe that only stupid people liked. Incomplete glitch fest that was baby's first open world video game. And now, a Pokemon game that I would genuinely recommend. The times are indeed changing. So in conclusion, Pokemon Legends ZA is a good Pokemon game. An excellent Pokemon game. The best in recent memory. Is it a good video game though? As long as Game Freak and Pokemon Company can't meet the standards of modern gaming, that will remain in doubt, and the discourse around Pokemon will continue.